Jamunatira Banachari Jamunatira Banachari Radha Madhava Navihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari Shri Radha Nila Madhava ki jai. Shri Radha Giridhari ji ki jai. Shri Giriraj Govardhana ki jai. Shri Nitai Chaitanya Chandra ki jai. Shri Nitai Gaur Hari Krishna Dham ki jai. Grantaraj from Bhagavatam ki jai. Shri the Prabhupada ki jai. Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So text 18 is on the board. We can chant that and then we'll go back and read. There's a verse before that and there's several verses after that that completes this part of Krishna's marrying Queen Kalindi, who is none other than, Jamuna Devi, the daughter of the sun god, which makes her Yudhishthira's sister. Interesting, eh? She was actually living in a palace in the Jamuna River that her father built for her so she could very peacefully go to the land of Vrindavan to perform austerities in hopes of achieving Krishna as her husband. So now that he's won Rukmini and then was gifted Jambavati and Satyavati, right? And now he has 3 wives, and then this chapter is Krishna marries 5 princesses, which brings him to the point of how many wives? 8. In this chapter. And each one has an interesting little tale, how Krishna goes about doing this. But all of it is based in one simple point. Each one of these girls only wants Krishna, as we'll see in this first part. It spends a little bit more time in this one, and then a little later in one of the other ones, where he had to go to Aisvayambara and prove his ability to do 2 things, which I don't know if it comes up today. If it doesn't come up today, maybe I'll give you a spoiler for tomorrow, the next day. So let's just go on and chant this verse, so when we do the other verses, it'll all make sense. Okay? So this is text number 18. Tamashadhyavararoham Sudvijam ruchirananam Prapchachcha presita shaka Palguna pramadottamam Tamasadhyavararoham Sudvijam ruchirananam Paprachcha prestita sakya Palguna pramadottamam Tamasadhyavararoham Sudvijam ruchirananam Praprachcha prasita sakya Palguna pramadottanam. Please chant. Matis? Okay, we'll start back at text 17. Read just the English, so the continuity will be there for us. After the two Krishnas bathed there, they drank the river's clear water. The great warriors then saw an attractive young girl walking nearby. Sent by his friend, Arjuna approached the exceptional young woman who possessed beautiful hips, fine teeth, and a lovely face, and inquired from her as follows. Purport by the disciples of Srila Prabhupada. Krishna wanted Arjuna to see the deep devotion of this girl, and thus he urged him to make the initial inquiries. Arjuna said, "Who are you, O fine-waisted lady? Whose daughter are you, and where do you come from? What are you doing here? I think you must be looking for a husband. Please explain everything, O beautiful one." Sri Kalindi said, "I am the daughter of the sun god. I desire to get as my husband the most excellent and munificent Lord Vishnu. And to that end, I am performing severe penances." Purport. As Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti points out, Srimati Kalindi correctly understood that Lord Vishnu, being the source of all benedictions, is the supreme husband and can thus fulfill all the desires of his wife. Text 21. I will accept no husband other than him, the abode of the goddess of fortune. May that Mukunda, the supreme personality, the shelter of the helpless, be pleased with me. Purport. The beautiful Kalindi here reveals some apprehension. She insists that she will not accept any husband except Lord Krishna. And she states that he is the shelter for those who have no other master. Very important point. Since she will accept no other shelter, Krishna must give her shelter. Also she says, Tushyatam me sa Bhagavan. May that Supreme Lord be pleased with me. This is her prayer. As Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti points out, although Kalindi is young, a young helpless girl, staying in a secluded place, she is not afraid. This staunch faith in and devotion for Lord Krishna is ideal Krishna consciousness, and Srimati Kalindi's desire will soon be fulfilled. I did forget to do the word for word, so let's go back to text number 18. Tam, her. Asadya, approaching. Vara, excellent. Aroham, whose hips. Su, fine. Vidyam, whose teeth. Ruchira, attractive. Ananam, whose face. Parprachcha, inquired. Prestitaha, sent. Sakya, by his friend. Shri Krishna, by his friend Shri Krishna. I mean, I read this over and over yesterday. I still don't get it sometimes. Palgunaha, Arjuna. Pramada, the woman. Uttamam, extraordinary. Agyanatamanandasya Kananjana Salakaya Chakshumanitam Jaina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Jaina Bhutale Svayam Rupa Kadamayam Padati Swapadantikam Vanchakalpa Turubhyascha Kripa Shindubhyevacha Patithenam Bhavanevyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Rama Rama Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachanam Pangunai Gayate Girim Yat Kripa Tamaham Bande Shri Gurum Dinataranam Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirve Shesha Shunyavani Paskatati Satarane Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale Srimati Tamal Krishna Goswaminiti Namane. Beautiful. This is the description of a devotee. And it boils down to a couple of main qualities. Oh, do please stay. Anyway, you're empowered to do what you want. Do what you want. When Krishna describes to Arjuna the divine qualities, right? What's the first quality? Bhagavad Gita, chapter Divine and Demonic Natures. What's the first quality that Krishna mentions is a divine quality? Huh? Nope, that's not that. It's a specific verse. There's other places where devotees are described, and technically there are 26 qualities of a devotee, but in this particular instance, Krishna starts with a divine quality of Shanta, peacefulness. Wow, Arjuna is not always peaceful. So he's talking to Arjuna right before a battle. The last thing Krishna wants is Arjuna to be peaceful. He's having issues with that already. So take it in context. This is the Bhagavad Gita. Anyone else? It's a very famous verse. Because he then after assures Arjuna, you have all these divine qualities. You don't have to worry about the demonic ones. Fearlessness. That's what he starts with. I mean, we can contextually say, oh, yeah, well, Arjuna there, he's in a battle, you know. Krishna should, you know, pump him up. You're fearless, Arjuna. It's one of your divine qualities. Same thing comes up here. She's fearless. Kalindi is fearless. Why is she fearless? She simply wants Krishna as her husband. Therefore, she has no fear. Very qualified person. It describes she's very beautiful, and her nature is very sweet. Because Arjuna approaches her, Kshatriya. Who are you? Whose daughter are you? Why are you here? Are you apparently looking for a husband? Now again, what did we hear yesterday? They're in a forest where Arjuna and Krishna were killing off rhinoceroses, tigers, lions, right? It's a dangerous place. And she's just wandering around like, wow, okay, cool. The forest is beautiful today. Huh? She's fearless. Therefore, as we hear from these verses, Krishna sends Arjuna of a whole herd of cows that had been left alone for 7 or 8 years. The man died, and the cows just roamed freely, and the bull, crazy. The guy went there to observe the herd, and the bull saw the truck and went and beat it to pieces. The bull beat the truck to pieces. Practically ripped the door off. This is what happens when you don't spend time with the cows. They get wild. So these 7 bulls are there. Interesting number, but there's a reason for it also. So the king of this particular princess decided that the person who is going to marry my daughter has to subdue these 7 bulls at the same time. You can imagine how interesting. Have anyone ever been close up to a cebu or a guy, you know, a gear cow or like that in India, the bull? They're about double the size of the cows. My first experience of when I was a young boy, we went to one farm, some relative of ours. And I don't think I ever went there. Well, we went there a couple of times, but they had a Brahmin bull there that was just enormous. My father was 6'3". The bull stood at his shoulder that high, my father. And I'm a small boy. I was 6, 7, I don't know, somewhere around there. And I'm like, wow, this is absolutely the largest animal I've ever seen in my life. And my cousin is humping around on a cast because the bull stepped on his foot. By accident, but it just crushed all the bones in his foot. Yeah, so when I heard this story about Krishna subduing 7 bulls, I just thought, my goodness. When you think that everything was bigger then, as other parts of the Bhagavatam explain, you think, my goodness. So this king decided that only Krishna would be able to subdue these 7 bulls. So that's why he decided that. That's why he had this little test. And many, many princes and kings had come and got beat up and banged up and broken bones and broken pride for sure. They all tried to get this, to make this happen. A beautiful princess, Mitravindra, actually. I think it's the name. So what did Krishna do? He expanded into 7 forms. Now, what is the first thing that his wives would notice about that? From a wife's perspective, you have one. She definitely tells you what she thinks. All right? I know that, even though she's very nice and humble. She still tells you what she thinks. Right? What is your responsibility is to her, yeah? And it is true. Right? So his princesses saw that he was equally capable in 7 separate forms to subdue these bulls. Therefore, they could understand he will be the same for each of them. Otherwise, how's he going to explain it when he comes home from one of his escapades that, oh, hi, I just brought home 16,100 more queens. Yeah, those original 8 were going to gang up on him and do some business there, right? A little readjustment of the husband. Yeah, so, and it's funny because when Narada Muni later goes to see Krishna in Dwarka, he's fascinated that every palace he goes into, Krishna's there. And he's in the middle of doing something, which would be different from what he was in the middle of doing at the previous one and the next one. So he was completely independent and always associating with each and every one of those queens. Quite fascinating. Krishna can do this. And therefore all of the queens were satisfied that they will receive Krishna's full attention as required. So it's very interesting. So here, Kalindi expounds this idea, I am fearless. She admitted she's living alone, but she also says, my father built me a palace in the Jamuna, the sun god, very qualified. And I reside there, and here on the bank of the Jamuna perform my austerities, because I am convinced my husband is Vishnu, and I will accept no one else. This is Krishna consciousness, as Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur and the disciples of Prabhupada said. This is Krishna consciousness. I am not afraid. The 6 qualities of surrender, Bhaktivinoda Thakur's songs, Sananagati, right? Depend always on the mercy of Krishna and expect that mercy. Right? We don't have to be afraid if we are in fact striving to obtain Krishna. Fear comes from a lack of conviction that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is doing everything and He will protect me. Always dependent on Krishna's protection, His mercy. Right? And this is the beginning of the divine qualities, because in the 6th chapter, and we've said this many times, the first quality that is expanded upon specifically about the Supreme Personality of Godhead is Asraya, His ability to give shelter to everyone. It's not limited. We can't think, oh, Krishna's given shelter to so many people. Oh, He wouldn't give shelter to me. Right? What kind of faith is that? Everything is happening because of the mercy of Krishna. Paramishwara. And in fact, He's the only real Ishvara. Period. Because we struggle just to control our anger, or our animosity, or our envy, or our satisfaction for wealth, or so many other mundane qualities. We struggle so much to control that. I mean, we see, I've talked to so many elderly men that are still working. I know them, some that have millions of dollars, and they still work because, well, you know, I have millions of dollars. Why shouldn't I have more millions of dollars? According to Krishna, that's a fool's errand. We just talked about that, right? With the Shamantaka jewel. And this Satyajit, he wasn't even working for it. He just did puja for the sun god. The sun god became pleased, gave him a stone that made the entire geographical area wherein which this Shamantaka jewel was worshipped properly, and would give the worshipper 8 baras of gold every day. And that doesn't sound like a whole lot, except that 8 baras of gold is 170 pounds of gold. Gold now, I don't even know what it is, but it must be somewhere between $1,000 and $2,000 an ounce. 16 of those per pound times 170. That's a lot of money. Without doing anything but puja to the sun god. He was worshiping the sun god through the Shamantaka jewel. But he became attached to that 170 pounds of gold. Because, I mean, having 170 pounds of gold today, another one tomorrow, another one the next day, just isn't quite enough. Go figure, right? When Akrura, with all his intrigues that we just heard about, acquired this stone, he left for fear of retribution on some level or another, and went to Hardwar, Rishikesh, Kashi, like that, somewhere right up in there. Allahabad, I think, in the same place, yeah. So he went there and was performing sacrifices on golden altars. Now the question is, did he just stack his gold bricks and make his altar? Did he have the altar made? But who goes around doing that these days? We have marble, and it's really nice, right? What if we had gold? Can you imagine making a golden altar that size? At least you'd never have to worry about anybody stealing it. You couldn't get it out of the building, right? So you could do it. Nobody would believe you had it gold anyway, because who would do that, right? We all think limitedly according to what we could do and would do. What, you're going to make a golden altar so you can walk on it and worship Krishna? These are the things that are available when one fully surrenders to Krishna. But not surrendering to Krishna and attaching oneself to these worldly things means that Satyajit's brother gets killed, Satyajit gets killed, the one that kills Satyajit gets killed, Akrura goes into hiding, Yuyujana goes into hiding, Kritavarma, went into hiding. Complications in attaching oneself to worldly things. Even if we are attaining them by puja, by worship. Because again, Satyajit is worshiping the sun god. Fine. Krishna doesn't mind you worshiping the demigods, provided you understand that that worship makes you strong enough to gradually, if one sees the demigods as the servants of the Lord, worship the Lord himself, Krishna. Because we see, who is Rukmini's, his first wife, Krishna's friend, who was she worshiping? Who's the family deity? Durga. That didn't impede her attaining Krishna as her husband, did it? No, not at all. So it's not wrong. One just has to understand what one's doing. Doing anything in the mode of ignorance will create havoc. We heard a lot about that yesterday. Right? Rasakinder Prabhu spoke about how the mode of ignorance influences the people in this world to do the wrong thing. In the right way, but the wrong thing. Or the right thing in the wrong way, through ignorance. Ignorance is like that. Therefore, where do we get our real knowledge from? Bhagavatam. This is where we learn about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. You don't have to tell Kalindi who Krishna is. Where did she go? She is the manifestation of the Jamuna River, but she is staying in Vrindavan, and she went to Vrindavan as the sun god's daughter to get Krishna. So there on the bank of the Jamuna, she's wandering around totally fearless. Now, we're talking about a teenager here, right? She's a young girl. Wandering around completely fearless in a forest that we know is full of ferocious beasts. He doesn't care. Krishna will protect me. Not that she's trying to burden Krishna. She has that kind of faith. It's in the divine and demonic qualities, probably one of the first 3 verses. Chapter, I think, 12? No, 14? 15? 16. 16, right? Yeah, divine and demonic natures. It's not that I'm so smart, but there was a class completely given on this one verse in Vrindavan that by a friend of mine, Mr. Sen. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful class. And he spoke on that. He was actually speaking Bhagavatam, but he referred back to this because in his preaching at the college campuses, his son was in school there, and he would go there and chant, and when he'd get a group, he'd read Bhagavad Gita, and the most requested chapter that kids would ask is divine and demonic nature. Funny, isn't it? And they want to know, what is a divine person? How do they conduct themselves? What would be a demonic person? I mean, mostly we hear these divine, demonic ideas as being part of a movie, right? Or a fantasy book, right? We don't have demons that we see walking around on earth anymore because we have a contrived vision in our mind. What is a demon? Or what is an angel? Divine person. And if you pay attention to the movies that bring up these topics, you see that the angels are quite a bit full of faults usually. Like, how do you understand from a Christian point of view the angel Michael, who basically goes around and just annihilates everybody that disobeys God? Well, that same all-merciful God that we're worshiping has people that go around and kill everybody that doesn't agree with God. Doesn't sound like something I'd want to do. So we get a really contrived vision of who and what these qualities are. Therefore, they want to know, well, tell us what does you producing something beneficial for humanity. It's a nice generation, the video game generation. In general, they want the world to be a nice place, and they're willing to work in that direction. I mean, it's quite astounding. I used to work a lot more with other nonprofit organizations and groups and would connect with them, and it's so many Indian children that, now I guess they're closer to 30 now, work for nonprofit corporations, doing good for humanity at large. It's quite interesting. You know, and why is that? Because the children see something has to happen. The world has gone crazy. And it's getting worse. Can you imagine just in 20 years the changes that someone who's 30 has witnessed? I mean, I know that at least in my life, my formative years as a adolescent, things that were going on in the world, the Vietnam War, the civil rights, all these different things had a profound impression. In fact, it was Martin Luther King that turned me on to Gandhi. And from Gandhi, Baha'u'llah, and the Baha'i faith, and different other personalities, Sufism, all these different peaceful religious traditions came to being. Right? The Quakers. Tolstoy wrote a beautiful book, The Kingdom of God is Within. And it's based on his correspondence. Leo Tolstoy also wrote War and Peace, Anna Karenina, about social injustice, right? And human frailties, what motivates a person to do these things. The brothers Karnov. Huh? Yeah, Karanovs, yeah. He's read them. See, Tolstoy is a very popular writer in India, actually, I've been told. Gandhi read him. Gandhi read this book, The Kingdom of God is Within, and that's what actually put him on the path. And this is correspondence between Leo Tolstoy and the Quaker leader in America at the time and things like that about what does it mean. Jai Sisi Radha Nila Madhava. So deep down inside all human beings, we want the world to be a peaceful place. Are we willing to start with ourselves, is the question. And you can never be peaceful if you're in fear. Not possible. Not possible. So the first thing you have to conquer is fear. How does a person conquer fear? Fear is caused by the element of the unknown, not feeling protected, not feeling safe, not this, not that, not that, not this. But if one is under the protection of the Supreme Lord, how could there be fear? So we have to understand the superior position of Krishna and his love for his devotees, that they will not be vanquished. And even if they are vanquished, they will not be alone. They will have Krishna with them. This is fearlessness. We know we have to leave this world. If we leave this world in a violent way with Krishna, why would that matter? We have Krishna. Kalindi is Krishna conscious. She's fearless. And she's about to get Krishna for a reward to her faith and devotion to Krishna. And Krishna wants to show Arjuna what this means. Why? He's going to need that one day in the not too distant future, because he's going to have to walk onto the battlefield of Kurukshetra and kill his entire family, practically speaking. He's going to have to see the rewards of fearlessness in the eyes of God. So, how are we going to attain that? We certainly aren't Arjuna. We certainly don't have the strength of Kalindi in faith. Just as a show of hands, how many people here are not afraid of snakes? You're not afraid of snakes? Guru Priya, you're not afraid of snakes? Well, your mother is. She calls me up. There's a snake in my yard, please come and get it. I have to go across the street. And Bapaji, my old father-in-law, is sitting there with the snake under a broom, and he's here. She'll wait for me to come grab the snake and take it to another yard and let it go again. So it's not in her yard. She doesn't care that it's in the neighborhood, but it cannot be in her yard under any circumstance. I used to be afraid of spiders. I was so phobic. If I just see a spider, I would flip. Huh? We had this big open garage storage area underneath our house, and it was full of spiders and webs. And I'd have to go in there and get garden tools to help my mother. And So then I found out about books and started reading about spiders and learned which ones were actually dangerous, which we also had in our yard, by the way. Black widows, things like that. But I learned to conquer that fear. However, I still totally freak out every time I walk through a spider web early in the morning picking flowers in my yard. Then I see what kind of spider it is, I'm better-ish. It takes a little while. We conquer our fear through knowledge. To conquer our fear of dying, we have to accept the knowledge of Krishna and his protection. There is no other hope. There's no other way. This girl, Kalindi, went there to get Krishna as her husband. She knew if that desire was pure, Krishna would protect her and he would come and get her. Krishna immediately recognized her for what she and who she was, and therefore told Arjuna, go find out about this girl. Look how she's walking as if she has not a care in the world. Go find out about her. Let her tell you why she has no fear. And she does. And Arjuna's like, wow. I mean, he went into that forest with bows and arrows. You know, he had his Gandiva bow and two, I forget the term they use, but ever-filling, inexhaustible quivers of arrows. So he could flip out arrows every chance he had to kill a ferocious beast. Right? Now, the funny thing is, you go into a forest to kill the beast, they know you're after them. They go after you. It creates its own fearful situation. People feel that. Animals feel that. Right? So Arjuna goes with a bow and Krishna and two inexhaustible quivers of arrows. And Kalindi's walking around, da-da-da-da-da. Ooh, those are pretty flowers. Let me take some and go worship Lord Vishnu. It's a real paradox to Arjuna. Therefore, Krishna wants Arjuna to see what is the difference in a person that's completely surrendered to me, that wants me only. Very important point. Therefore, she says, Tushyatam me sa Bhagavan. May the Supreme Lord be pleased with me because he is my only shelter, as per the other verses. I'm living here by myself, worshiping Krishna to get Krishna, right? So may he be pleased with me. I am fearless, because I know Krishna will protect me. So, apparently none of these animals thought, why don't we have a nice feast with her? We can invite her as the main course, not as the chief guest. That doesn't happen. She gets Krishna. Any questions or comments? And today we will use the microphone. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. There we are. Sarva's been researching the Krishna book. What have you found?
I just appreciate your point about fearlessness. And Prabhupada's parents gave him the name Abhay Charan.
Prabhupada was fearless, situated at the lotus feet of his spiritual master. Abhay Charanada Vrinda, at Krishna's feet, spiritual master's feet. Yeah, thank you. Usually Sarva he's my check and balance. He sits there real unassuming, but he listens very carefully. That's when I say all the fun things. Anyone else? Mataji's, Prabhu? Yeah. Depend on no till it's turned off, I think, or maybe the batteries. Yeah, he could carry one, but he had two just in case. Welcome to Kshatriya consciousness. I got two inexhaustible. I'm taking them both, man. Yeah, and he could work from both sides. So he could do this or he could do that. And like that. And they were given by Indra? Agni Day. Because at the end of the chapter, or actually at the end of the previous, he says, oh, Arjuna's already using his Gandiva bow. So apparently this happened after the burning of the Kandava forest, where they agreed to make sure none of the animals left. And that's when Agni Dev was pleased to Arjuna. He gave him a chariot, the Gandiva bow, and 2 inexhaustible quivers of arrows. And this is while Krishna is present. Krishna says some despairing comments about demigod worship. He doesn't say anything despairing about the demigods. So we have to really understand this concept. It isn't necessary to the Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Even though, if you go through the Satsara Dipika, which deals with the ceremonies that one gives in life, the samskars and things like that, many things are replaced. Instead of worshiping the 9 planets, we worship the 9 Yogendras and things like that. We don't worship the 9 Yogendras, the sons of Rishabdev. So things are replaced, personalities are replaced that we worship as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, because as Gaudiya Vaishnavas, we're a little different. We attribute and base everything in the worship of Krishna only.
So the 9 planets actually in astrology they have different deities.
Yeah.
There is one tradition which says which represents each planet as avatar of Krishna,
Sure.
like Varaha avatar.
Sure.
And so there is one set of astrologers who actually sees the.
Of course. But according to Gopal Bhatta and Sanatana Goswami, we eliminate the inaccuracies of people's opinion by simply worshiping the 9 Yogendras and the 8 Vasus and different personalities that are the Mahabhagavatas and things like that. It's a Gaudiya thing. It's different. There are very few Gaudiyas historically, always. Because we follow Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who wasn't big on rules and regulations as much as he was on pure love of God. And that puts us in a different position. Therefore, Rupa Goswami comments that he writes only for the liberated souls, because in order to take up this philosophy, one has to already have decided Krishna is the goal, which places us in a completely different position in our life. We see what Kalindi, Krishna is her goal. And she gets Krishna. Right? Rupa Goswami, Krishna was his goal, therefore he gets Krishna. Therefore he writes from that standpoint, that viewpoint. And I'm not trying to put the Gaudiyas into some superior position. I mean, philosophically, obviously there are some superior scenarios there, but everything is arranged in such a way that each individual may advance. What does Krishna say about those who are less intelligent that worship the demigods? He said, however, I make their faith strong that they may develop a desire for me, so that they advance by faith. We see the other religions. They live on faith. It's their entire basis of their their worship of God is faith. They have very little information about God, about who they're worshiping. And many places they see more the wrathful side of the Lord as opposed to the beautiful, friendly, and loving side of the Lord. But they have faith that the Lord is the Lord. Better to have blind faith than no faith at all, but we, as Gaudiyas, do not have blind faith. The Vedas eliminate blind faith. But if you want to have blind faith, you can. If you want to leave the spiritual world, after many attempts, Krishna will eventually say, okay, fine, go to the material world. Just like if you're raising children, don't put your finger in the fan. Okay. As soon as you leave the room. Right? Prabhupada says that about his own son. No, do not do that. Do not put your finger in the fan. And finally he says, okay, put your finger in the fan. And right in front of his father, Srila Prabhupada, he puts his finger in the fan. Ow! Papa! I told you. You have choice. If you want to have blind faith, there's no amount of knowledge that can shake that out of you. Try to preach to someone. Krishna is God. No, he's not. God is God. Yeah. If we're eternal, we're eternal. We were eternal before we got into this body, and we're going to be eternal after we leave this body. Drop that on him someday. Let him go home thinking about where he was last life, before he came here. Right? Yeah. But the faith is better than no faith. People with no faith are atheists. Look what kind of trouble they cause. And they're not even true to their doctrine. As Dhanana Maharaj was saying, for an atheist to be truly an atheist, he knows there's absolutely no consequence to any action we perform. Therefore, if someone is killing a child by atheist decree, what does it matter? It's just a child. Just a person killing him. There's no consequence. There's no sin. There's no good or bad. There's no horrible or wonderful. Who's going to do that? Not an atheist. They have children too, by whatever reason. They go out and breed just like everybody else, except that they teach their children there is no God, and their children become godly. One of the biggest problems in Texas ranching now is that the children are becoming vegans. And they don't want to have anything to do with the family business, which generations upon generations have been raising cows for slaughter. And the children are becoming vegans. Can you imagine? What that does to a farmer, a rancher. Where did I go wrong? Well, you were killing the cows. They just wised up to it. Like that. Yes, Prabhu. Yes. Oh, Miss Hannah. She's got the mic. She can out-talk me. Go ahead.
So, can everyone hear me? Yeah. So you made a point that we can defeat fear with knowledge, which I really appreciated, because in the yogic chakra system, there's 7 different chakras. Chakras is Sanskrit for wheels of energy.
So she's asking a question. The microphone's not working. I apologize. She's asking a question relating to the chakras, the yogic chakras, and how they have both psychological and physical effects due to our consciousness. So the base chakras, which are at the bottom of the spine, which is very near several less desirable parts of the body, where many yucky things come out of, right? And it has its element of fear, which has to be conquered over to raise the consciousness above fear through knowledge. And therefore one engages in the yogic process to uplift our consciousness, clearing our consciousness to ultimately get to the Brahmarudram chakra, the top chakra, which is in our top of our head, and is our access to Shuddha consciousness, pure goodness. So, and that's through knowledge and effort and control of the senses, the mind, the intelligence, like that. Gradually, it's a very elevated stage, and it's not something that one can get to just through physical exercises and calming and etc. We have to have proper knowledge to push us higher and higher in that consciousness. And ultimately, at that highest consciousness, there is no fear. First thing is, we're not our bodies. We get to the stage where I am not my body. It's the conclusion of the Bhagavatam. Shukadeva Goswami asked Maharaj Parikshit, is there anything else? Do you have any other questions? He goes, no. I am now elevated to the spiritual platform. I have no sense of fear of this takshaka, the snake bird, killing my body, because it has nothing to do with me.
So do we constantly have to engage ourselves in remembering until it becomes a habit to always be in that consciousness? Like, how do you maintain that?
We constantly maintain ourselves by the process of following the spiritual master. Chanting Hare Krishna 16 rounds every day minimum, that brings you to the stage of human choices, chanting 16 rounds. Enlivening. How you just become a human being because you can chant 16 rounds every day. Okay? So, adherence to the order of the spiritual master, fixing the mind on Krishna through chanting, through study, through all these other different things, gradually elevates a person's consciousness into Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada designed this entire morning program, which doesn't exist anywhere else except for Iskcon, except for the organization and the followers of Srila Prabhupada. That we spend 4 hours a day meditating on Krishna and Guru. The two are inextricably linked. They're always linked together. You can't have one without the other. Krishna would not send you a guru unless you were already desiring Krishna. And the guru will help you understand how to get Krishna. So important that we follow our founder Acharya's instructions. And part of those instructions is that one should attend Bhagavatam class every day, particularly on the weekend, because you don't go to work on the weekend. People should come to the temple. When else are they going to do it? And if they're not going to come to the temple, that's fine. Then do a full morning program, maybe not 4 hours worth, but chant all those prayers that we chant. If you don't want to sing Mangalarti, then just chant them. Chant all those prayers. Samsara davananadita lokatanna yakarana gunat ganatvam praptasya kalyuna gunarna vaishabande gurosi Charanadavindam. You can get through them in the time it takes me to walk a half a block from there to here. That's how I used to do. I was the Pujari for many, many years, and so I always spent my morning up there. So I would chant all my prayers walking to the temple and walking home, because I would be busy during different parts of the morning program that other devotees were singing and chanting and having a great time playing the drums and the kartals that were in the temple that made enough noise that you could actually hear them from 5-6 feet away. So I would do that. We used to do traveling Sankirtan. We'd have our whole program in the van. 2 people, 3 sometimes. Whole thing. Wake up, bathe, chant the samsara prayers, chant our rounds, do Guru Puja, worship the books as our deity, take prasadam. We do all those things every morning without fail. So, fine, you can't come here. That's understandable. But then do that whole program. Learn those prayers. I see devotees that have been coming here for 10 years that have their phone out during Mangal Arati because they haven't learned the song. What are they doing at home all those other days? These songs should be known. Why, who didn't tell them they should have this morning program? How they didn't understand there's a morning program and inquire about it. I'm not finding fault. But why aren't we attaching ourselves to this order of Srila Prabhupada? He is the only person that ever left India to give the highest knowledge of Krishna consciousness up to his point. Now others, there's so many. Lokanath Maharaj, Bhakti Maharaj, Indians that come up, Gopal Krishna Maharaj. He was a big manager in the Coca-Cola Corporation. And he gave it all up to serve Srila Prabhupada. One of the first Indians to actually take Krishna consciousness seriously. Early on. And again, I'm not trying to make bodily designations here. But if we feel we should be part of Iskcon, why is it that we don't know the basic prayers that Srila Prabhupada gave us to fix our mind on who our spiritual master is in relation to Krishna and how he is our ultimate link to Krishna, and therefore we serve him how? These are all in this Guru Vandanan, how to worship the spiritual master. Guru Vastaka, 8 prayers in glorification of the position of the spiritual master. Yasha prasarad bhagavat prasaro yasha prasara nagatir katopi dayam stuvams tasya yasas trisanjam. All day long we meditate on the position of our spiritual master, who is capable of giving us the merciful rain cloud of Krishna consciousness to put out the forest fire of material desire, samsara dhavananalita loka. We're stuck. He teaches us how to offer prasadam to Krishna. He teaches us how to worship Mahaprabhu. He teaches us how to approach Krishna. And all the revealed scriptures reveal that he is our transparent via medium to our relationship with Krishna personally. He does not interfere in our relationship with Krishna. So we don't chant these prayers, how are we going to know what we even got here for? It's not sentiment. You made a choice to go back to Godhead when you stepped through these temple doors and decided, I wanted a spiritual master. It was a choice you made. I didn't make it for you. Your guru didn't make it for you. We made that for ourselves. Now, what are we going to do with that choice? That's what these prayers are about. Srila Prabhupada came here fixated on the order of his spiritual master to carry out Lord Chaitanya's prediction that Krishna consciousness and Krishna's names will be spread all over the world in every town and village, not just in New York and Los Angeles and Delhi and Bombay and Hong Kong and Nairobi. Right? He said all over the world, London. Yeah. Every town and village. Katy, Sugarland, right? Houston, Garden Oaks, our cute little neighborhood here at the Lotus Feet of Srila Radharani Madhava. Right? Richmond and Rosenberg. A couple of little towns that have issues with Krishna consciousness. Them farm boys and girls, they got a whole nother perspective of what they're supposed to be doing in life. But yeah, that's the key. She escaped. She took the plunge, made the jump. Like that. Right? Right, Gantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. So tomorrow, text number 22. Chaitanya Charitamrita Prabhu. We tried. And thank everyone.